look at number stations today. Now, when I'm talking about number stations, what on earth do I mean? Well, I'll play you a couple of short clips here of some number stations that I've recently heard. You may have already seen these on my channel. So let's just have a quick look. Okay, so there's a couple of number stations. Now, what are they all about? Well, these number stations, it's believed they've been around since World War One on the shortwave bands. They were very, very prevalent during the Cold War period, and that's around the time I started my shortwave listening interest. Used to hear them all over the bands, and I think quite a lot of them originated from the Eastern Bloc, Russia and East Germany and so on. But it's surprising to find out that these number stations are still around today. I mean, the recordings you've just seen are very recent. Now, it's thought that these number stations are basically transmissions from foreign intelligence agencies to spies out in the field. They carry encrypted messages using forms of groups or letters, and they may use an automated voice. They may use Morse code or some kind of digital mode. The encryption methods that these number stations use are largely unknown, but a lot of them it's believed that they use the form of something that's called a one-time pad. Okay, that's something the spy will have this pad in the field, and it will have a mathematical addition of random numbers, which is the key to interpret the text of random letters or numbers that are sent over. The one-time pad, as his name suggests, is only used once and is destroyed after usage. As such, the message sent by these number stations is basically unbreakable. It's simple, but it's effective. Most of these number stations, oddly enough, have set time schedules or patterns of time schedules. Some appear at random points in the band and don't have a discernible pattern, but many, if not most, do have a pattern. So that's a little background of the number stations, but you know, how do we receive them? What do we need? Well, obviously we need, if we're going to do it ourselves, we need a radio receiver. There's actually a way around that as well, and I'll come to that. But we need a receiver, so I tend to show my SDRs receiving the number stations. It's just easier for me to do it that way. I can tune my SDR when I'm not in the shack, even when I'm away from home, and often that's when I'll pick up the number stations. But you know, a simple receiver like this Texan PL330 will work. It needs to have single sideband, which the 330 does, because the number stations we can listen to will be in SSB. As I said earlier, they also transmit sometimes RTTY and other data modes, CW as well. But if we're going to hear the voice transmissions, it's going to be an SSB. So a simple receiver like a 330. Now, you may get some results with the built-in whip, but it's going to be difficult. So if at all possible, for your receiving, you need to get an antenna up outside. It can be a random length of wire, as long as and as high as you can make it. If you really can't get an external antenna up properly, well, how about something like one of these reel-out whips? This is a Texan AN05. Okay, you clip one end of this to a curtain rail or some other structure in your room, and you reel out the wire, plug that into the antenna socket of your receiver, and that will help reception, definitely help reception. Okay, so a couple of easy ways of setting up. Now, how are you going to find the number stations? Well, if you're lucky, you could find them just by randomly tuning the bands. but that's likely to be a frustrating experience. There's a much easier way of starting out with number stations. I recommend you look at a site called Priyom, and we'll take a look at it in a moment. And I'll show you a little trick that means you can actually listen to and receive number stations even if you haven't got a suitable setup of your own. Now, the Priyom website provides a whole host of information on these mysterious signals, as well as providing with a schedule of transmission times, and the schedule will also give identification, as far as they know it, of the stations that are transmitting. So let's take a look at Priyom, and we'll see how useful it is to us when we're hunting for our number stations. Now, if you're interested in the number stations, this is a website I highly recommend, okay, for several reasons. Firstly, we've got quite a bit of information here regarding number stations, military stations, diplomatic stations. One of the most useful features of this site, if we go to the home page, you will see that there's a schedule. We can scroll through the schedule at the bottom here, which gives us the time, the code of the number station concerned, the frequency and the mode, and even a target area. You can scroll down and it's like covering the full 24 hours of the day. But there's a kind of a real-time thing going on here as well, because you can see here we've got the current UTC time. It's given us the next station that's going to be transmitting in 40 minutes. There's a number of stations here. One on USB, one on RTTY, a couple on USB and AM or AM, I'm not sure which. Here's another clever feature of this website. If you access this website and you haven't got a suitable radio to hand, if you click on the link to this station, now bear in mind we're certainly not going to hear anything at the moment because this station isn't due until 39 minutes time. It's not going to come online. But if I click, for example, on this one, on 8530 USB, just click on the link. It takes me to the SDR in 20 in the Netherlands. Alright, and I'll just scroll down a little bit so we can see the controls of the website. It's taken me to the correct frequency and mode for that number station that is due. Now, we're not going to hear it for 38 minutes. I'll just step back. Okay, and that was by clicking on that link. So if you're not near your radio or you can't hear anything, because there's no guarantee that that station will be heard by 20, but it's a very good SDR, so there's a good chance that it will. So by using Priyom, we can not only find out which number station is next to transmit and where it's going to transmit and which mode, we can actually click on the link and that will take us to an SDR where we can see if we can hear it, even if we haven't got our own radio to hand. So this is a really, really good resource if you're interested in getting started with listening to the number stations. Okay, I hope you found that useful. And as I just said, I highly recommend you visit the Priyom website. You'll be able to tune your number stations even if you haven't got a receiver. I'm going to do some more videos on some of the other things that we can find in the shortwave bands apart from the usual radio amateur transmissions and the shortwave broadcast bands. There's a lot of utilities, there's a lot of things out there between the bands that maybe not everyone's aware of. So I hope you enjoyed the number stations. You'll see some more periodic videos of my reception of some of these stations. I'd be interested to know if you listen to them, or if you know any more about number stations. I've been listening to them on and off, since the 1980s. In fact, it was only recently I restarted with the number stations. I was quite surprised to find the amount of them that are still available today. In this age of internet and satellite transmissions, we've still got intelligence agencies using the good old shortwave bands. Thanks for watching.